Likids, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book The Jersey Death Squad, no other than Mr. Mark Medding. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Mark, and can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Mark Medding. Uh, I reside in New Jersey, North Jersey. I'm a Jersey guy. And I'm very, very, very grateful to be here and happy that someone like Daniel is taking an interest in my book. And I'm very excited about it. The book has gotten a great response so far. It's only been out about a month, so it's always a journey trying to get a book off the ground, as many of you self-publishers know. But it's been really great, and the feedback's been terrific. And yeah, so and just as an FYI, Dan, I don't even know if you know this, but the book is available on Amazon as a paperback. It's also available on Kindle, and just 2 days ago, it dropped on Audible.
Great.
Is now available on Audible.
Co-
And by the way, the narrator is just phenomenal. I just have to tell you, it's really great. I'm so happy with how that turned out. So, yeah.
Congratulations, Mr. Mark, for your debut novel. So, what inspired you to become an author?
Well, I'm a creative person, so I wear a lot of hats. I have a day job. I'm a businessman. I've been in the same business for over 30 years. I'm a salesperson, account manager in technology, and I use a lot of creative approaches to even selling. But I'm also a musician. I play the drums in a couple of different bands. If you're in the North Jersey area, my band Southern Stew is a southern rock band that plays around North Jersey and southern Orange County and Rockland County area. And also, the Fortunate Ones is a Creedence Clearwater Revival cover band in the same area. And I'm also a moss artist. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is, but there is such a thing as a moss artist. And basically, it's creating art with different colored moss, which is really an interesting texture to do art with. And been doing that for a couple of years now. And writing the book, I mention all that stuff because my creative wheels are always spinning. And, I had this idea for this book for, I mean, it's got to be over 10 years now, maybe longer. I don't know. The concept of the book was always an idea that I loved. And it is inspired by true events, but the book is a fiction book. But there is some inspiration of true life in there. And I just kept saying to myself, man, this would just make such a great story. It's such a cool story to tell. And the concept is, if you're not familiar, I think we're going to probably dive into some of that, so I'll save that for later. But the concept is unique and different and relatable, and definitely kind of like a head scratcher, like, oh yeah, I remember growing up like that, and makes you think that. So after just constantly saying, oh, I got to get this story out of my head, about 2 years ago I started the journey of writing the book and developing the characters and the storyline and the setting and that kind of thing. So yeah, I never really anticipated myself going down the journey of writing a book, but when I started really putting pen to paper, I got so into it and just enjoyed the journey so much of like just being able to tell the story that it was actually a fun process, I have to say.
A fun process, people. What challenges have you faced in your writing The Jersey Death Squad.
Yeah, the when I got to about 60 or 70% of the book concept on paper, the challenge was filling in the dialogue and creating the storyline, and that's where the time really took, was in that, and being able to make the characters really relatable, and that's where the real challenge came. It was easy for me to create, the characters and the setting and all that stuff, because I was really pulling from real life, and so. But once I got to, having to really dive in and like make this a flowing storyline, that's where the challenge came. It was difficult to get into that part of it.
How do you handle writer's block in writing the Jersey Death Squad?
A step away. I literally just had the discipline to just step away and let it kind of flow. Like, all right, I didn't give myself a time frame, and I wasn't in any hurry. So I said, okay, I'm kind of tapped out. I need to just step away from this for a little while, and then something would inspire me, something would come to me, some thought, some idea, and then I would get back to it. I'd pull out my pad and I would start writing stuff, and then all of a sudden I would get a little bit of a flow going, and I kind of just respected the block a little bit and just said, all right, well, this is where I'm at right now. It doesn't mean I'm going to be like, blocked forever. And I just allowed myself that space to be able to go, all right, pull back, don't get yourself frustrated. And I wasn't too concerned about it. And fortunately, I felt like if I was going to force it, um, then it wasn't gonna play out right. It wasn't gonna feel right what I was writing, and I really wanted a flow of the story. And if you get a chance to read the book, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There is a flow to it that just makes sense between flashing back to the kids growing up to current time in their adult life, and how that overlapped and how that plays out was really an important an important part of putting this whole thing together, which I hopefully captured.
Yes. So, how do you approach research for the Jersey Death Squad?
Well, like I said, this was inspired by true events. So it wasn't just something I pulled out of thin air, So it was actually easy for me to be able to lay down the basis of the story and then kind of build off of that. And how that's how the whole book really was kind of written, was that way. Was it had this undertone of the story, and then I wanted to maintain a certain um, feeling in the book all along, even though the concept of the book is about, it's kind of a deep storyline, right? It's about four friends that are tasked to fulfill a pact to murder their friend based on a pact that they created when they were 15 years old. Now they're in their adult life, right? So the journey, a journey to kill Jesse Freeman, is really the journey of them getting to their friend. Um, but the main piece to all of it, and I've gotten feedback from people that have read it, that the real tone of the book, even though there's a lot of sarcasm, because the friends all grew up together and they always breaking each other's chops and stuff like that. There's huge amounts of love and respect and loyalty within the relationship, and I wanted that to be carried through. And that I pulled that from my own personal experience. So like I said, like, I didn't create this out of the blue. It's not an autobiography at all. But there's pieces of it that have some true events.
What authors or books influence you in writing the Jersey Death Squad?
Interesting. The my some of my favorite authors are to be honest with you, Stephen King, Nelson DeMille, James Patterson. I love those kind of fast paced, kind of energetic dialogue, you know. And I wanted that to be part of like there's a lot of banter in the book between the friends, and I wanted that flow to stay constant so that you're just flipping pages, and that's how I feel like I read when I read James Patterson or any of those. They're kind of like energetic stories, so I find I'm flipping pages like constantly because I'm just so wrapped up in the content. You know what I mean? So that's what you want out of a book. And that's what I wanted out of this book. I didn't want there to be any lulls. I wanted there to constantly be, like a page turner, And that's again, that's the feedback I've gotten from most people that have read it so far. Is like once they started it, they didn't want to put it down, and like if they did put it down, they couldn't wait to get back to it because it's just such a fun. It is even though it's kind of a heavy concept of a book, it's a dark comedy. There's a lot of funny stuff in there. There's a lot of funny parts, some great anecdotes, and funny adventures that they go on their way to go murder their friend, right? Which is such a dichotomy.
So, Mr. Mark, can you share a memorable moment from writing the Jersey Death Squad?
A memorable moment. Um, yeah, sure, absolutely. I remember I was sitting like kind of with a pad, and it was about 2 summers ago. And I remember when I started to develop the characters, and I was really focusing on the four main characters of the book. And I just remember how excited I got when I was able to really create and develop these characters, and like they came like out of my head and out of my heart and on paper, and I was able to translate what I've really felt about these other three people, well, all four of them really. And I got excited about that. I got really excited about that because I'm like, well, this is it. Like this is the start of like I have the characters now, so now I can piece this whole thing together, and then all the anecdotes and the adventures and everything. And like I picked an adventure for each one of them, and you'll see in the book that each one kind of has their own like adventure while they're on this journey. And but it was really exciting because I'm like, all right, well, how do I didn't want it to be, I didn't want the characters to be identifiable by people that I grew up with, right? Because like I said, this is pulled from a story, pulled from a real life event, right? That I went through, a pact that I went through with my friends. And but I didn't want the characters to be so identifiable that people could go, oh, well, that's Tony, or oh, that's Pete, or that's whatever. I wanted them to go, well, geez, that's a little bit of this guy and a little bit of that guy and a little bit of this guy, but nothing defined. So to make people kind of scratch their heads and go, you know, uh, like, wow, okay, this is a blend of multiple characters. And when I was able to really get all that down, uh, I felt like I was on my way. And from that point forward, actually, once I got those characters down, I really was able to really flow from that point for a period of time. I really went for it. So, yeah.
Very well said, Mr. Mark. But before we go on, I want to shout out my listeners in Chile. Thank you, Chile, for supporting this podcast. Muchas gracias. Because in Santiago Metropolitan, I got 88% audience share. Region de Valparaiso at 6% and Antofagasta at 6%. Thank you again, Chile, for supporting this podcast because this podcast is created to empower writers, authors all over the world like Mr. Mark Medding. So, Mr. Mark, what is your advice for the aspiring writers out there?
Oh, I feel like at any given time, if I didn't give respect to the process, um, meaning like you asked me in the beginning of the interview about writer's block and what to do with it. I would say just kind of let it flow, like let it almost respect the writer's block and just kind of let it be part of the process, and don't be afraid that you've hit a stumbling block. Almost just kind of like open yourself up to it, and kind of lean into it, not push it away as like, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. What am I going to do? Just accept the fact that you're drawing a blank for now, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be drawing a blank forever. And have faith that your creative juices will flow, and if there is something in your way that's in your life, take a look at that. Maybe there's something outside of yourself that's causing you to block. That could be any distractions in life. We all know that we're loaded with distractions these days, and if I didn't get a lot of my own personal stuff out of the way over the last 10 years of my life, I wouldn't have been able to arrive at a place where I could open myself up to write a book. And I'm talking about my own personal, a lot of times for my own personal experience in life, I was the biggest blockade of any of my creativeness because I was so distracted with whatever emotional stuff, or not believing in myself, or whatever, not having enough confidence to be able to go through a journey like this. And thankfully, I've been on a journey for the past 8.5 years that led me to a place where I could open myself up and have enough confidence in myself to be able to write a book. So I would say, open your eyes to what's going on around you. If you are hitting writer's block or something like that, just see what's in the way and try to remove it. And maybe it may take a little time for you to remove that piece of it. And if that's the case, that's the case. Just doesn't mean that it's forever.
So, Mr. Mark, how do you balance writing with the other aspects of your life?
I committed to it. I committed to it. And a lot of times when I have a busy life, I'm married. I have a very, very demanding day job. Um, I'm also, like I said, I do moss art, and I'm a musician. I play, and I also am in the martial arts as well. I forgot to mention that, so I do that, also. But I think one of the things that I will say about myself is that once I set my mind to it, and once I was able to get to that first step for me in developing the characters of the book, which took time, uh, I was committed and totally driven to get this story out on paper, and I kind of had to push other things aside to be able to commit to it, because I really was committed. And I would say, um, if you're committed to this, to writing a book, then commit to it. And if you catch a wave of creativeness and you're writing away, stay with it. Don't let other things get in your way if you can help it, but don't hurt yourself along the way. But I dove in, and that was it.
What are some themes or topics that you're passionate about exploring in your writing?
I like to have an I I like to have an undertone of a message, right? I feel like that's like I have another book in mind, and I'm so entrenched with getting this book off the ground that I'm not even I'm not even in a good headspace to even start getting it down, but the wheels are spinning. And so, like I mentioned, like the undertone, like that's what I want to captivate. Like, so whether that's a spiritual sense, um, some kind of undertone message of either love or personal growth or whatever. I like to, I like to write in that capacity where there's something underneath that, even though there's all this banter, like in this particular book, and there's banter and there's a lot of kind of funny stories, but even in between all of that and the little minutia dialogue that goes between the friends, there's love and respect and loyalty to each other. Now that's not necessarily said out loud in the book, right? But you read through it and you go, "Oh my God, these four boys loved each other," and but it's not like it's not right jumping out at the page, but you feel it as you read it. And that's how I think I would prefer, even my next book is going to be somewhat similar. I think it's going to be adventurous with an undertone of some kind of spiritual messaging is how I think my next book is going to go.
Very well said, Mr. Mark. So before we go on, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, our fourth season. We serve Alessandro, one of the best executive chef in one of five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. And please do listen to our latest episode. We talk about our Food 101 culinary course, Volume 2 Fundamentals. And please do purchase our culinary courses, people. Volume 1 Basics, Volume 2 Fundamentals, Volume 3 is Principles, and more volumes to come. Food 101 culinary courses. What is your short term and long term goals in writing?
My short-term goal, like I mentioned, is I hired a publicist, and I feel like the past month and a half since I launched the book, I've been getting such incredible feedback about the story and how you know I've gotten it should be a screenplay, it should be it should be a play, it should be this, it should be that. It's and there's a lot of energy around when people describe their experience reading it. So short term right now is really just trying to get this book off the ground. So if you're listening and you're inspired to read this book or listen to it on Audible, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I think the story is worthwhile and unique and different. So that's my short term right now. My longer term is to start working on my next book, and I'm excited about it. I have a really good idea. It's already been it's already starting to sprout a little bit in my head. So now it's like the next wave of and it'll happen. I'll know when I'm ready, to do it, and I'm going to allow that process to happen on its own and have faith that it'll come when I'm ready for it. So
Congratulations, Mr. Mark, for your debut book. And I
thank-
hope more books to come. So, Mr.
yes,
Mark, can you please invite our listeners to support your debut, The Jersey Death Squad?
yes, absolutely. Please find my book on Amazon and paperback or Kindle. And if you prefer to listen to it, like I said in the beginning, the book just dropped on Audible 2 days ago. And I just want to say this really quickly. Um, the story is based in North Jersey, right? And the four kids grew up in North Jersey, and it's a narration of one of the characters, Scotty Carollo. And Scotty is a typical. If you've ever watched The Sopranos and you're familiar with that dialect of New Jersey, I wanted the narrator to be able to capture that dialect So I found a narrator, this guy Anthony Ziello, who narrated the book, who just did a phenomenal job. And I'm telling you, really, it's just he brings Scotty, the narrator in the book, to life. I mean, he really like you picture him, you feel him, you know, and it's very comical the way the way he speaks. And um, yeah, if you're not familiar with New Jersey, maybe you're from another country, or you know, and you're kind of curious of what it was like for kids to grow up in the 70s and 80s in North Jersey. Well, then this is your book.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Mark Medding because if you support him, more books to come. So, if you categorize the Jersey Death, which one, which genre?
This is a fiction book, a dark comedy fiction book, kind of a thriller as well. Yeah.
Congratulations again. Now, speaking of audiobook, I want to plug in my bestsellers audiobook. People, please do listen or purchase my book 101 Review Volume 3 and my Stand Tall Together, or Stand Tall, Stand Together. My climate change book, Earth Fever, of course. My book 101 Review Volume 2. This is all my 100 episodes of my book 101 review. And of course, my book 101 review volume 1 highly recommended. And to my one of my self-help book, Threads of Existence, Weaving the Tapestry of Life. And of course, Life is Too Short, a journey of discovery, fulfillment, and joy. Available as well on Audible. So please listen to them, purchase them because one of the best sellers. So, Mr. Mark, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on the success of your podcast. And for the folks out there, I hope you enjoy the book. And you can always reach me via social media if you have questions or just want to talk to me about the book. Look forward to
Yes,
hearing.
and looking forward for your next books, and you are most welcome to come back to
Thank
promote
you.
on Book
Thank you.
101.
Beautiful.
Monica people, see you soon.